Hi there, I'm Rebecca and a really warm welcome back to my channel, PumpkinBecki. In this week's video we are going to try and plant an entire pine forest. Let's get started. It's the second week in February and I have been working very hard on all my bonsais. I've been doing some wiring, I've been cleaning bark, I've been checking soil, I've done some pruning, all sorts of things. I've also acquired a couple of other trees in that time, some nice ones from eBay. One of those is this rather handsome hazel, which I have wired out. And the other one is this pretty awesome olive, and this is Alea sylvestris, which is the wild olive. This one is a small leaf variety, so it will always maintain that petite look. And I've even got deadwood. I've never had a tree with deadwood. Well, not intentionally. Maybe where I've killed a tree or something, or a branch has died off, but it's not sculpted. My Canomeles is just about to break into flower. So that's always exciting. And my flowering cherry, Kojo no Mei, is about to break into flower as well. In my intro I said I was going to be planting an entire forest. How am I going to do that? It's going to be a bonsai forest. These 10 beautiful Norway spruce plants came from eBay, and they're smashing. They're going to be perfect for a bonsai forest. Forests are normally done in groups of odd numbers, and I haven't quite decided how many I want to use. It's going to depend what they look like when I unpack them. This is the pot I'm going to be using, so I need to get the drainage holes covered, get some tie down wires in, and then we're ready to start planting. I've got myself some drainage screen, and now I'm just going to make some wire loops to hold it in place. So you end up with a little piece of wire that looks much like that. You take your drainage screen, pass the wires through, and you do it so that the bunny ears stay on the top face, and the face that's going to be inside the pot. Push the tails down through the holes of the drainage hole so they come out of the back, and then fold them really nice and flat. Now these holes are sort of meshed anyway, so I suspect potentially you could get away with not putting a drainage screen in. They're certainly not like a proper bonsai pot where they get huge holes. These are genuinely enormous drainage holes. Would definitely need covering. But I think better safe than sorry. Let's just help stop anything coming out that shouldn't. This pot gives me a whole heap of tie down wire options, which is great, especially if you're doing a forest. It's good to have enough for the number of trees you're doing. I'm using aluminium wire. And it doesn't need to be massively long. This literally is tie down wire. You're not doing anything else with it. But you do need it long enough to be able to come in through the pot from the bottom and come up with tails that are going to be long enough for you to put soil into your pot, put the tree on top, and then still close those wires over the roots. What you don't want are wires crossing on the bottom. But you can put more than one wire through any one hole. You want the wire to go through as flat as possible, so that when you look at it on the base, not like this, it lies really flat, so that as you're tightening there's no flex, no extra. Before I start trying to put soil into the pot, I'm going to take my trees out and have a look at them. And they are long plug plants. Lots of nice healthy roots, lots of white tips on the roots, that means they're growing, healthy. I'm not going to bare root these, I just want to get into them and see what's going on. Hopefully find where the top of the roots are. I'm just using the tip of a sharpened wooden plant stick. Traditionally it would be a proper bamboo stick, and you can do that if you like. This seems to be working quite well for me. So as I say, I'm not trying to remove all the compost, I just want to start to wiggle the roots about a little bit, get a sense of what it's doing inside that plug. I also want to try and encourage the roots not to grow upwards. You often find with container grown plants that once the plant has filled the container or hit the bottom, it will then start bending the roots upwards, just trying to find free soil. But we don't want roots that come up above the point where the best, thickest ones meet the trunk, or exit the trunk, I should say. So if we look here, I've now cleaned down all this length of trunk, and I've started to get to some lovely thick roots coming out, and they're actually going really nice and horizontally, so I'm going to stop there and carry on and do that to the rest of the plants. Ooh, 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 another really good reason for doing this sort of root work that is a vine weevil. I don't want a vine weevil. Vine weevils eat roots. They're nasty little things. Sometimes you will only see the plant seeming to struggle up above, and you won't really know why. But if you dig down, you will find the soil mass often is full of big white maggoty blah with little brown heads. Ugh, horrible things. Here we are again. I have cleaned down all of this section, and I've now got to the point where the roots are starting to come out of the trunk. So it may seem like a faff to do this, but not only am I assessing the roots and getting them into the sort of shape that would fit into a bonsai pot, because let's be fair, a long tall column of roots is not going to fit into a bonsai pot. I am also making sure the roots are going in the right direction, and I am looking for any interlopers, just like vine weevil, that are going on in the pot. Don't worry about these little beads that you might see coming out, they are a fertiliser. Nothing to worry about. This one has got some strange roots which are pointing up. I've got a more consistent set of roots coming out in a radial pattern lower down, so what I'm going to do is cut these ones off. Just like that. Yes, it had some feeder roots on it, but it's going to be poking out of the soil, so it's no good. So I've now got 4 trees virtually ready, and it's a good time to have a look at how many we could effectively get into the pot. We could almost do a 3 and a 5. I think there should be plenty of room for that. Now, I'm going to say something a bit controversial now. I have in the past bought starter trees from proper bonsai nurseries, eminent bonsai nurseries. They haven't been a patch on these. Yes, alright, we've got the odd vine weevil, but you can't avoid them, they're everywhere. This tree, you can see, has roots. The trunk comes down, the main root flare starts about here, but it's got these ones which are shooting straight up out of the pot. I'm going to have to cut them off. I'd rather not do that, but the tree will hopefully produce more very quickly. So here I'm mixing the native soil that I've taken off the tree's roots, and I'm mixing it with some Akadama lava and pumice. And then I need to have a quick look at the trees that I've got. So I'm going to line up the base where the roots begin to flare. I want a range of heights and a range of thickness if I can. Now I've picked my trees, I want to find my main one, which is usually the thickest and tallest, which I think is, I'm wrong, it's that one. That one is going to be my main tree. And then I want to find my smallest trees, which is absolutely that one, and probably that one. The smaller trees in forests tend to go towards the back of the planting and out to the side. I'm going to spread the roots around as much as possible. Once these trees are in, they will always be treated as one whole, so you'll never separate them again. When you come to repot, you will always repot the whole. I'm just going to do a loose tie down there for the moment. Your tallest tree then comes towards the centre and towards the front of the grouping. Towards, not bang on. You can really see what I'm trying to achieve here, can't you? No, you probably can't. It will make sense, I promise. I'm aiming to make this into the sort of woodland that has a path running through it, so that it tells a little story. It makes you want to walk through it. So I need to think about that as I'm settling the trees in and how I'm building up the soil levels. The Chinese, who developed arguably the first sort of bonsai, enjoy creating something called penjing, and that is more of a storytelling. So they might include figures or little buildings. Yeah, I suppose you could look at it in terms of our modern day fairy gardens that we do. It's asking the viewer to create a story in their mind. Imagine how that tree came to be where it is. Imagine the sorts of people that might see it. Has it ever been seen by somebody? Or is it so hidden away, such a special secret place, that nobody's ever seen this forest before? Maybe that path has been created by thousands of years worth of animals going to and from a stream to drink. Who knows? There's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. If it makes you happy, go with it. Just going to use a chopstick to make sure there are no voids underneath the trees. Everything to be in contact with soil. And I think I'll water this, but I think that's all I can do for this evening. It's just over a week later. I've been poorly, so I haven't been able to carry on with this video, but the trees are now completely wired in and it's been watered a couple of times. Anywhere that the soil has moved around a little bit, I've just sort of firmed it back in. It's looking fairly stable now. Hopefully, with the aid of my blind at the back, you'll be able to see that none of the trees are on exactly the same plane as each other. Doesn't matter whether you look side on through the planting or face on or from above, They are all staggered three-dimensionally around the planting. The last thing I need to do is pop some moss on. Now, you saw me do this in my larch video. We'll just do it again here, but slightly differently. I have got my sphagnum moss mixed with collected moss that I have ground up, and most of that will just be scattered carefully and not excessively around the trees. And this will start to grow fairly quickly. Next, I want to stabilise the banks of the pathway that I've tried to create. And I'm going to do that with some moss that I have gathered but not ground down, so it remains in sheets. And there's a lovely flat one that looks a bit sphagnum mossy, and there's some cushionier, is that a word? Cushion shaped moss. And it's all been gathered from paving, brickwork in and around the garden, so it's native to this garden, and it is also going to be growing on a similar soil surface because it's got that agadama pumice lava mixture in it, so it's not a wholly organic surface. Okay, so I'm just going to start laying some of these pieces on. I do like to gather interesting pieces of rock, and I don't know, I've just seen this piece of flint while I was working just outside, and I'm sort of wishing that I could have made it part of the planting. I don't know. Is it too late? It gives it something, doesn't it? You're looking now at the intended front view of the forest. As you can see, I have done a group of 3 and a group of 5. That is not a traditional way of doing it. I believe that it ought to be an odd number of trees for the planter, not for the individual groupings, but because I wanted to so significantly divide those groupings, I felt that was justified. I'm very pleased with that. It is my first forest planting on camera, not my first forest planting, but hopefully this will be my most successful forest planting. Right, that's it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to rate, share and subscribe to me here on YouTube. And until next time, bye!